Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
Here we go, guys. We're getting this picture up. So, how are you guys feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, it's a good evening, and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, so it's not like I can feel too bad about it.
Jason?
Yeah, it's never a bad day when you're anticipating another Chiefs Super Bowl win.
This is what I like to hear. All right, guys. Championship weekend here. You're on the Sports Buffoons. It is Wednesday, guys. It is Wednesday night, and we are 2 weeks from the Super Bowl. I got Mike up here.
What's up?
JG.
What up?
And, of course, myself, Tanner. Welcome on in, guys. So, hey, we got a great show to talk about today. We're going to do a little recapping, of course, of the Chiefs-Bills. We're going to go over, talk about a little bit QB Carousel. So we got some poll talks we did on Twitter. And, of course, Chiefs-Bucks and maybe a legacy talk, if there is one. So, hey, guys, let's go ahead and just kick it in. How about those freaking Chiefs-Bills game? Like, that was actually a good game to watch, first off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, were you, worried at all when we were down 9-0 in the very beginning of the game?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should have been. Well, it's kind of funny. It was kind of traditional Chiefs playoffs at this point, to where they had a mistake there early on from Mecole Hardman trying to field a punt at the 10-yard line and watching him immediately muff the punt. And then our defense actually didn't do too bad. The Chiefs' defense was actually pretty good in the game, and giving up 9 points early on in the first 5 minutes was not anything had to do with them not playing up to their ability as much as it was opportunities that came along for the Bills at the time.
It's great, and that's exactly how the Chiefs are. They take advantage of opportunities and they strike quick. Jason, what were your thoughts?
I was just really thankful that Mahomes was healthy enough to play in that game. I mean,
He looked good.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
The toe didn't seem to bother. Obviously, we weren't really concerned with the nerve or concussion, but his turf toe did not really come into play.
Yeah, and that's honestly my big takeaway from the game is that he looked great. He looks healthy. Probably just a mild case of the turf toe. We did have that injury to Eric Fisher, that Achilles injury that could actually affect him into next season. So that's a little bit of concern going into this Super Bowl. But, Mahomes, with him being in the concussion protocol for that period of time there, I think it actually fired him up even more for that Bills game. And, as far as being down 9-0, that shouldn't worry anybody at this point, because that is when we play at our best. And, in fact, if we ever start out one of these playoff games with an early lead, I just don't know if these guys are going to know how to handle it.
That's the crazy thing, right? So the Chiefs are actually worse when they have an early lead versus when they're down early as well. So that's kind of a crazy stat to think about. They have, I think, 5 losses as an early lead, and
only 4 with Patrick Mahomes in his career. Losses.
On a deficit.
Anytime Mahomes has lost or been losing in a game, he's only lost 4 of those games total.
Clutch.
So he's 22, I think, 23-4 all time when he's at any point in a game trailing.
Yes.
So that's pretty incredible, actually, to think about, that he's come from behind that many times.
It's insane. And something we got to think about or talk about too, guys. How about our freaking defense, man? Weren't they flying everywhere? They were secondaries in the freaking backfield. They dropped 3 picks that could have been really killed the Bills. These guys were hitting people. They were flying hard. And I don't know. I'm very impressed about how they showed up for this game.
Yeah, when you look at the defense, I mean, the first guy I look at is Juan Thornhill. I mean, that guy was flying all over the place in this game. And we knew going into this game that Stephon Diggs, we talked about it on this show, that was going to be the guy that you had to stop or at least contain him. And we did contain him. 6 catches for 77 yards. Insane. And even in the first game we played him in the regular season, he only had 6 for 46. And honestly, the problem for the Bills, they just did not have enough weapons. When you compare these two teams, Bills versus Chiefs, Diggs is really the only weapon. They don't have a running game. So,
don't.
And then you got Josh Allen. Yeah, he got a few rushing yards in there. But one thing to point out is that leading up to this game is that the media put so much hype into Josh Allen. They're trying to sit there and say that if he beats Mahomes in this game, that he would be the face of the NFL. I actually heard this, guys, on a national outlet which you all know out there, that's an absolute joke. I can't believe they hyped him up that much. But, honestly, guys, Josh Allen did what he was supposed to do. I mean, he'd never made it to a conference championship game before, so you got to take baby steps when you're a quarterback. So I think he's going to be a great quarterback in this league, but people should have never tried to compare him to Mahomes and try to say that he was going to somehow be the face of the league if he beat Mahomes in one game.
Oh, I fully agree with you. And so the first point real quick, Juan Thornhill. That looked like the Juan Thornhill of old. I don't know if you guys recognize that there. Mike, you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was flying around quite a bit. He did drop the one interception in the beginning of the game, but the fact he was there to make a play on the ball is what really stood out to me in the first place. And he was flying around hitting as well. So I thought he made an impact quite a bit, and it was good to see him.
That was a great call.
I'm not sure what it is that kind of came out from him this time, because throughout the season he's been fairly quiet. And I thought in this game in particular he stood out, especially in the beginning of the game. And as far as Diggs having those yardage, 77 yards?
Yeah.
As far as that goes, most of that was at the very end of the game. And so the Chiefs locked Stephon Diggs down the entire game until the fourth quarter, in which he had a couple of big plays downfield.
Well, heck, on a couple of those plays closer to halftime, the coverages in the secondary to allow our line enough time to get a rush, the coverages in the secondary were amazing. It was lockdown. There was plenty of times there they showed the overhead cam, and there wasn't a guy open. And, of course, the one guy that's on Ben Neiman is the guy getting open, right? So not surprised on that one. But I thought hell of a job by our secondary. So Jason brought up the Mahomes bashing that he took all week long. Are we going to see this with the Brady bashing, with Brady as well coming up?
I don't think it matters. I don't think the media is going to try to paint that this time. I mean, you definitely have, everybody knows this is GOAT versus GOAT. And so I don't think they're going to be, I think this is kind of an even playing field when you look at it from a media aspect.
Now, what do you mean by bashing? What do you mean by that?
So, not bashing, more like trying to downgrade Mahomes, saying, what they did with Josh Allen. Mahomes is not that good without his weapons and stuff like that.
Oh, those are just fools that have always said stuff like that since day one, I think.
It's like he had the same weapons or Alex Smith had the same weapons. Obviously, he couldn't get it done.
I could understand why they might try to hype him if he was playing for the New York Giants, like in a bigger market, but playing for the Buffalo Bills, who cares? Yeah. Why would you want to hype a guy like that and put a big target on his back and just try to pump up Mahomes to try to destroy this guy? That's all they did.
Yeah, you're just fueling the fire for Mahomes anyways. So.
I think it was definitely Josh Allen's probably one of his worst games of the season. And I think it all came down to the way he handled the blitz, because the Chiefs were sending L'Jarius Sneed at him quite a few times.
Yes.
There was a nickel, and that nickel blitz was giving him a hard time, big time, throughout this game. And that's one of those things where we're facing Tom Brady coming up, and you're not going to do that as much as well, considering Brady is great against the blitz. And Josh Allen, on the other hand, was running around, scrambling around, trying to evade pressure the entire night. Just from Chris Jones and Sneed and Frank Clark even got to him once. And so I think that we've seen now with Allen, some of his flaws do come within handling the blitz and facing the pressure, whereas some quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady prevail when you blitz against them, because they know that you're allowing a free open man to become an open as a receiver whenever you're sending a nickel. So something to keep in mind.
I think we all expect to see Josh Allen back in that same situation again next year. This is not going to be a one-time thing for the Bills. They got a solid quarterback. He's progressed each year he's been in the league.
Yeah, they'll be battling
I
every
expect
year
to see him. I expect to see him in the playoffs for the next 5 years.
Yeah, they'll be in the mix. Ravens should also be in the mix.
Yep.
The Titans should be in the mix still for a while.
And,
those teams right there should all be in there.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on this quarterback carousel. I mean, you never know if Deshaun Watson goes to the Patriots, then I think they might give Josh Allen a run for his money.
Watson with the Patriots would be interesting.
Probably not going to happen, but it would be interesting.
There's a lot of speculation. So, guys, talking about Watson and where he may go, let's move on to our QB carousel as we go around the merry-go-round here. So, obviously, the first guy I want to ask you guys about was Deshaun Watson. Is there anything new from since last week's take on where he may land up?
I want to know why people think he should go to the New York Jets. Why does people like Richard Sherman say that Watson should go to the Jets? Doesn't make sense to me. They don't have a lot of talent there. Basically, you're putting yourself in a similar situation where you already have in Houston, but probably worse. Like, what's the point?
It's a brand buildup.
A good team.
It's a brand buildup. That's all the little reason why.
The brand. Well, Watson should be thinking about himself, not their brand.
No, his brand. You go to a big market, you build your brand. It's what Sherman's thinking.
People know who Deshaun Watson is. He won a championship. So, I mean, it's not like he's a guy who's a nobody. He needs to build his brand by any means. He just wants to win games.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy literally is second all-time in quarterback rating behind only Patrick Mahomes at 104 for a career quarterback rating. And he's had success in Houston with or without talent. He still made it work and was successful this past season. And I think he's a guy, if you give him a team that has some structure around it, he's going to be great. I think he's a really good athlete. I think he's a smart player and a good person also. And so, I don't know. I hope he goes to a successful team that's already got some structure to it. Maybe now that Rivers has left the Colts, maybe he's considering a spot like that and facing his former team twice a year.
Yeah, the only thing I can think about with that Richard Sherman comment is maybe he just wants Deshaun Watson to be on a crappy team so that he never has to face him in the playoffs. That might be a possibility.
I think the best team he could go to, honestly, is the 49ers. I think if he went to San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, that would be the ideal matchup, quarterback to coach, and Watson would thrive over there.
I'd almost say 49ers or New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, those would be my two.
Those would be the two I could see. I would
Niners and the Saints, and most importantly, it keeps you out of the AFC, which gives you a better chance to get to the Super Bowl.
That's true.
Then you got to play the GOAT. But whatever. That's an interesting one. Guys, Matthew Stafford has been announced. They have agreed on a mutual decision to remove him from the Lions. Where does he end up?
That's a tough call there. I mean, you got to look at what teams are going to need quarterbacks and where he's going to want to go also. I think the Panthers are probably interested in looking at a quarterback right now, even though they do have Teddy Bridgewater. I think they could be looking for an upgrade there. And also, just like I mentioned about Indianapolis, I think that's also a good spot idea for him to go over there with a good offensive line and a team that does have a good running game, something that Detroit has really failed to give him consistently throughout his career, which is why back in the day, a few years ago, he was constantly throwing for like 5,000 yards. You know, it felt like he was just passing the ball 50 times a game, when if he had a decent running game, which the Colts do have between their two good running backs, hopefully Marlon Mack comes back healthy next year, then he could be very successful with that team.
Yeah, I like the idea of Carolina just because it keeps him in the NFC. I mean, he's 33 years old. You pair him with Christian McCaffrey, and I just think that's kind of the perfect match for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I like to see Matthew Stafford obviously stay in the NFC so we can avoid him. But I see him almost being a Patriot or a Colt coming up here. Just for the fact that Bill Belichick, that's like a Bill Belichick type of guy. So I could see that happen as well. But, like, are you guys kind of surprised that DC isn't trying to get this guy for the Lions, the new head coach to there?
Not necessarily. I mean, are we supposed to be expecting like him to want to stay? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like I could see MCDC be like the guy, you know, after his press conference, which actually I don't know if you guys caught any of it, but it was actually pretty spectacular. He's just a guy that wants hard-nosed players, and Matthew Stafford is a hard-nosed player who's fought through multiple injuries and still played through it.
Yeah,
he's a guy that doesn't get benched.
Here's the thing about the Lions. I don't really care what they want. I'm more concerned about what Matthew Stafford wants for his career because the Lions suck. They ran Barry Sanders out of there. They ran Calvin Johnson out of there. I mean, what's the point in staying? I mean, you've spent like most of your career over there. It's time to get out and do something else with your career at age 33.
And I think that it comes down to what Stafford wants because I think Campbell came in as head coach of the Lions and they probably discussed the idea of the future from the team. He can either draft and develop a quarterback, which I think is what you should do, or let your Matt Stafford go somewhere else, get something from him out of it, and let him move on. And the news came out about Stafford mutually parting ways from the Lions after Dan Campbell was announced as head coach. So let's keep that in mind. I think there was some topic or discussion that was there between the two people and where they both decided it was best for them to part ways and for Campbell to then create and develop his own quarterback, which I think they should still do through their draft.
All right, I agree. So one last guy to talk about. Nothing's been official yet. Aaron Rodgers actually went on Pat McAfee's show. we'll get to Goff, yeah. Pat McAfee show, and he was talking about clearing up his comments, and it was just a generalization of, what he meant by nothing is certain, including himself, is nothing. It's not in his control. It's out of his control. Though. Everything's out of his control. He'd be traded tomorrow, before all he knows. So, but is Aaron Rodgers on the move this offseason?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think from the Packers' perspective, they've got to do everything in their power to keep the guy because they have nothing else. I mean, you're not going to – I'm not a big believer in the guy that they drafted, and I know I talked to Mike about this earlier. He's not a big believer. And I think from Packers' perspective, you got to keep the guy. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm 37 years old. I'm getting the heck out of there, and I'm going to the Saints.
Yeah, that's an interesting one right there. The Saints are a good location, good spot because of the weapons they do have between Thomas and Alvin Kamara. But I do think the Packers will want to keep Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think he's going to be in Green Bay next season and probably another couple seasons after that. Because I feel like this was Aaron Rodgers' second best season of all time, statistically. And let's keep that in mind. And Devontae Adams and him have a great connection. Now, he could have a similar connection with Michael Thomas, obviously, going to the Saints, for instance. But I think that the team over there, the organization of the Packers, know what they have with Aaron Rodgers, and they're not going to ruin it. I don't think that, even though Rodgers is unhappy at times with their draft picks, with some of the free agent additions that they almost never get, he wants more around him, be put around him, because he knows he's capable of winning Super Bowls. It's just a matter of the team structure at times fails when it really matters the most. And I think as we saw there with Tampa Bay versus Green Bay in the NFC Championship, it was just a battle of the team that wanted it more at that point. And Green Bay's defense actually failed to stop the pass in that game.
Yes, they did.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans kept getting open early on in the game. And really, once they had that lead from the very beginning, it was Buccaneers' job not to lose the game, and they didn't.
Great. And the Packers would be fools, guys. Fools to lose Aaron Rodgers. You've been to 2 NFC title games 2 years in a row. You're telling me that Aaron Rodgers is going to give you the best chance to take it to a third?
Yeah, they will be fools, especially because, you got Drew Brees just retired.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is 37. Eventually, you would hope that Tom Brady is going to retire. So then at that point, you would own the NFC. So they just got to get a few more pieces around him on that team. And hopefully, he's got to make another Super Bowl, guys, because what is he compared to Brett Favre right now? He's not. They're basically have the same accomplishments. At this point,
Brett Favre did win 3 MVPs. Let's keep that in mind. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, only has 1 at this point.
Yeah, so he's 37. The guy has to win now. So I think the Packers have to prove to him that they're gonna do something
Green
with that
Bay
roster.
should go all in. I think
they need to go.
They need to go all in for next year.
But if they don't, then I think Rodgers needs to figure out a way to get the hell out of there.
It needs to be a Chiefs-Packers Super Bowl next year.
It has to be. All right, and guys, and the last guy I forgot, Jared Goff. Sean McVay said after their loss, they were going to look at possibly, basically everything, including the quarterback position. Is he really going to get rid of Goff?
Yeah, he didn't give too much away, Sean McVay, with that comment. I think the media just read too much into that. Jared Goff's 26 years old, and I feel like, you guys out there probably think that he sucks. I'm not ready to go that far, but he's definitely regressed these last 2 years. But I think the worst thing for him would be for him to move somewhere and start over. I think he's got to stay with Sean McVay. The only other possibility I could see out there is maybe going to the Colts, where he could play for Frank Reich, so former quarterback that could kind of maybe try to reach him a little bit better. But yeah, I think he's either got to stay or go to the Colts.
That's fair. I could see him, with the Colts more than anything. Yeah. But would Bill take a chance?
Bill Belichick,
man.
Why not? Goff's still young. And he's got some things to grow with still, but I don't really. And the fact is, and so I don't understand why they're throwing him under the bus, so to speak, because it feels like they really are. And yeah, he didn't play ideally, but also the Rams have lost some talent at times too, to where they don't have they have good connections with Cooper Kupp, so there's stuff like that going on. But I think that Goff himself is very talented, but they need to be patient with him too. And what they tried to do by benching him was not the right move. The guy was healthy enough to play. We all saw that.
It was definitely not healthy.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it, I mean, you just never know how a player is going to respond when they get a big contract like Jared Goff received, and it just goes back to what Biggie Smalls said one time, which is mo money, mo problems. And so maybe just Jared Goff, maybe he can't handle that big contract, and maybe he's not pushing himself and trying to improve the way that he should.
That's very fair point. I just see Jared going. I don't see him leaving at all. I don't see Sean giving up yet.
No, but the organization's unhappy with him.
Yes,
that is a fact. I mean, you don't start John Wolford over him, and just for
when
no
he's
reason.
capable of playing.
When Goff, and that's the thing, Goff came in and won, and so he proved that he could still win. And so I still understand why the loss of confidence comes into play with LA.
So one other thing, does Jared Goff remind you guys of Elvis Grbac at all? Are they like similar players? I know that's going way too far back.
I mean, Gerbach's kind of a statue back then. Not really a mobile guy. I think Goff's fairly athletic. I don't know if it's a good comparison, but I do think that as far as Gerbach goes, he thought he was better than he really is. Like he wasn't actually as good as he thought he was. He thought he was special.
Well, that could be the same issue with Jared Goff now that he's got all that money rolling.
So you think that maybe Goff and Gerbach have big heads, and that's kind of the similar mentality?
He's making a lot of money. That's all I know.
In a big market.
Yeah.
In a big market. All right, guys. So today during lunch, I threw out some poll questions. I got 5 poll questions. I did this last month. I'm going to try to do this monthly with just stuff that I've been thinking of throughout, the week. Or maybe let's see if this works right. All right, there we go. So Twitter poll number 1, guys, as it loads for me. It's not the best one I was thinking. I believe the first one here is going to be, does Tom Brady have anything to lose going forward? After the Super Bowl, with the Super Bowl, is this it?
No, he doesn't have anything to lose. I mean, he's playing at an elite level at age 43, and it doesn't really matter if he wins or loses this Super Bowl. I mean, I do think he's got a lot left in the tank. There's a lot of guys out there in the media that are saying that, there's guys that say he would have fallen off the cliff like 2 or 3 years ago. And I used to be one of those guys. I actually said, I don't know if you guys started, I said, Brady is going to have an excellent year this year. But I said going into next year was my prediction that he would fall off the cliff. And now I'm not even convinced that that's going to happen. I think he can do it for another year because he takes care of his body and he's a winner. And the guy acts like he never wants to quit.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it affects his legacy or anything as far as it doesn't diminish anything he's ever done. If he loses the Super Bowl, is that your question, Tanner?
Yeah.
No, it's a Twitter poll.
It's a Twitter poll.
I mean, my answer is no on this for sure. Because
does he have anything to lose?
Anything to lose? No, not at all. He's playing with house money. You already know he's the best of all time.
All right, so Twitter responded here. Yes is 10%, no is 60%, and just retire already at 30%. But he's not retiring, guys. Sorry, he's not going away. Second one, does Eric Bieniemy come back? I know Houston is he was one of the finalists for the Houston job, but is he really going to go to Houston?
Let me interrupt you real quick, Tanner, but the Texans did just hire their head coach.
Did they?
They hired David Coley, the former wide receiver coach, actually coached with the Chiefs at one time. I don't know if you remember him, but he's 65 years old, longtime coach. Team up with Nick Casario to take over a team that needs some serious work. So that is who the Texans went with.
How old?
65 years old. David Coley. He was actually an assistant with the Ravens recently. So that is their choice for head coach over in Houston. So no Eric Bieniemy there. So I just want to give you that just came through 1 minute ago.
Well, that's disappointing. Jason? Any
Yeah,
thoughts,
no,
dude?
I think the only thing I can point out is just that we continually have issues with hiring black coaches in this league. And I think a lot of it has to do with corporate America. You look at the fans, and I actually listened to an interview with Romeo Crennel, former Chiefs coach today, and he pointed out the fact that, you look at all the fans that are in the stands. I mean, a lot of those people are corporate white America.
Well, I'll
And
point out,
so
Jason, David
you-
Coley is a black coach. So even though they didn't select Eric Bieniemy, David Coley is still a black man. If
That's
we're
fine.
go
I'm
down
just saying,
that
like
road.
this is a discussion that we'd had, and my whole point is that we need to do something about this issue because we talk about this. It seems like every year,
It's
and
always
so
a
I
topic,
think there needs to be a better representation of black coaches in the league.
Well, does this mean Eric Bieniemy stays?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to stay.
I don't think
he goes
Which
anywhere.
is kind of amazing. We never expected that to happen. We thought for sure Bieniemy's gone, and I think at this point Bieniemy is staying in Kansas City for one more year.
He's staying. I mean, that's great for
Hey,
us, but
yeah.
I just say that he should have had a head coaching
I
job
want
a
to
long
point out
time
one
ago.
thing, though. We all sit here and praise Eric Bieniemy as being a good part of this organization, and why hasn't he gotten a job? And we're going to play the race card, this or that. Have you guys dug in Eric Bieniemy's past by any chance?
I have
Allegations
not.
from Colorado
I have
by
not.
any chance?
Nope.
He's got a lot of negative history in his past as a coach and as a player, as far as being kicked off the team at times. He was actually known for hosting parties with some of the teammates at CU and involving drugs and prostitutes. as
Right,
well.
but is that one of those deals where we're digging up stuff from 30 years ago,
Or
or is it
altercations with
20,
police
25
officers.
years ago? I mean, you can dig up stuff for me from 25, 30 years ago if you
Right.
dig really
Some of the
hard.
allegations, though, are things you want to see the face of your franchise be able to deal with and look at and understand that is your man to look up to. I don't have a problem with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy has been great for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Andy Reid obviously loves him. So otherwise, he wouldn't have come to Kansas City in 2013.
Yeah, I understand all that.
But I think
just,
there's a history there that teams are looking at and that worry them about things that's happened in his past. And when you hire a guy to be the face of your franchise, to run your team, you look at that history too, and you take that into account.
and I understand that, but what they should be looking at is how has he lived his life the last 15 to 20 years,
Yeah, I agree.
versus like 30 or
Yeah,
when he was a
exactly.
teenager. You know what I'm saying? Like we shouldn't go off of that.
Yeah, I agree. I guess when people start Googling his name once he's hired in whatever team in whatever city, and then you're gonna have people around town going, "Well, what the heck? They hired this guy."
So it could be an
and all
image
these
thing.
things.
So it just could be an image
So,
thing.
so there is an image issue to it that we have not discussed and that should be talked about because we act like it's such a big deal. He's not been hired as some kind of race issue when we know it's not. Black coaches are given jobs every day in football. That is not at all what the problem is. NFL is full of 80% black men, and so there's no race card here to be playing. Other than it just maybe teams don't want him to be the head coach. We can get over that.
Well, all I know is Houston got their guy, so we'll see how
David
that plays.
Coley, former Chiefs wide receivers
Yep,
coach.
see how that plays out.
Yeah, we'll see
Well,
how
that'll
it
be
goes.
interesting. So Twitter said, does Eric Bieniemy stay or come back? Hell yeah, 44%, not a chance, 6%, and he is a Texan at 50%. So that 50% obviously is wrong. All right, here's the NBA one. Can the Nets dethrone the Lakers this year?
Ooh, well, we got some breaking news.
We
We're
got
going to
some
break
stuff,
a little bit later. As you guys know, I said on my previous podcast that I thought that the Lakers had the best roster overall because of their depth. But I also said that the Nets have the best 3 players that they can put on the court, and actually the best 4 players they can put on the court at any given time. And so I said if both teams are 100% healthy, I said that the Nets were going to win.
Yep.
Now, if that didn't happen, then I would take the Lakers because of their depth. But like I said, stay tuned because we got a little bit of news that we want to talk about in the NBA a little bit later.
Yes, that's correct. Mike, any thoughts on this?
What was your question again?
Can the Nets dethrone the Lakers this year?
Yes, I think the Nets do dethrone the Lakers, and I think the Nets win the championship in the NBA.
I don't think you dethrone the King, but yes, it's 33%. No, at 67%. Maybe next year. Nobody took that one. 0%.
Nah, 67%. That's still kind of a coin toss when you're talking about Twitter.
All right, the next one
Got some
here.
commenters, Tanner. What are they talking about over there? I can't see it.
Oh, we got some commenters. So we got Tim Colbert over here, Dad.
That's Dad.
TNT is better than D&M, and that's very true. Ping pong people know. Shannon says, hi, Mike, Bubba, and Jason. Then we got Deeks. He is joining us live and asking about the topics. Then we got Jason Hammett here. 10% 10% of coaches in the NFL are black, while 60% of players are black. To clarify your comment. So, guys, keep commenting here. We'll read them out. It's good stuff here. All right, recently, or as of yesterday, nobody got selected to the MLB Hall of Fame. Do you agree with those results?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately I do have to agree with those results, and that's the first time that we have seen this happen since 1960, where you haven't had a single player make it to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing when you think about it, but the guys that were up for it, obviously you got Barry Bonds,
Curt Schilling,
Roger Clemens,
Gary Sheffield.
Yeah, a lot of different issues going on there. I am not surprised by that. I think the bottom line is, guys, that you have to understand Barry Bonds will be in the Hall of Fame. I can basically promise you that right now. The only question is when, and we don't know when that's going to happen. But
we don't know.
Yeah, all I can say is it was never proven that he actually did steroids. Everybody in the world believes that he did it, and you had some guy testify against him, but it was never actually proven that he did steroids. So he will make the Hall of Fame someday, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Mike, any thoughts?
I don't have a problem with what they chose. I mean, obviously, when we're talking about the steroid era, if they want to take that into account when they're selecting who's going to the Hall of Fame, they can do that. I do think Barry Bonds is deserving of going to the Hall of Fame at some point, just based on playing ability alone. And yes, I do think we all believe he cheated. For sure, took steroids. You don't hit 73 bombs in 1 year after going from 40 the year before. I just don't think that jump up doesn't make sense. But I still think as a player, he should be in the Hall of Fame. But the fact that no players were selected is the most interesting thing to me, though, in general, because normally when you think about sports in general, you don't necessarily put the coaches first. You think about the players first.
Correct.
And so having a whole year where, imagine that in the NFL if that was to ever happen. I can't imagine that. I mean, we already have. What do we have every year now? We have like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 guys going to the Hall of Fame. Imagine a whole year where we just selected coaches and general managers. That would be insane.
Announcers,
or just whoever else, yeah, and like having no players. I can't even fathom the idea of that. So that kind of blows me away. But no, I don't have a problem with their decision on that. That's fine.
So the interesting take on this one is Curt Schilling, who didn't get in due to a negative remark he made a couple years ago. That has actually hurt his freaking chances. And it's unfortunate that, yes, he did something wrong, but you got to look at the baseball side of things. You got to look at the sports side of things. You can't just play the politics, what he does outside the sport. What did these guys do for baseball? And are they Hall of Fame capable?
Yeah, I wish they would just do that and look at the baseball side of it, but unfortunately they did not do that with Curt Schilling. And Curt Schilling, his issue is very similar to Barry Bonds in that they both had a very negative relationship with the media. And I think that those sports writers, I mean, they're taking it out on both of those guys at the same time.
Agreed. We got a Deeks in here. First off, real quick, Irving goes vegetarian, Harden buys a ranch. So he does not. Deeks also believes that Bond should suffer before he gets in because they will make Bond suffer before he gets in. He deserves it even before he played for the Giants.
Put him in timeout, basically, and make him just wait it out, basically.
Just make him, yeah.
That's fine, I guess.
But he's going to pull what T.O. did and say, screw you, I'll do my own Hall of Fame thing. And then Deeks believes...
why is T.O. not... I mean, that's what it did make sense to me when T.O. was not in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't make sense to me.
No, that was dumb. But that was because it's antics. It's politics again.
Right, he's never done anything wrong.
So he
never did
he
anything
actually
wrong.
said NFL should take a note from MLB on this because he thinks too many are getting in each year.
I agree. I think that the Hall of Fame is becoming watered down in the NFL because there's too many guys selected and put in every year to where you're lowering the value of what it is to be in the Hall of Fame.
We just let Joe Buck in the Hall of Fame. Like, get out
That's
of
a
here.
joke. Come on.
Twitter says yes, 20%, no, 20%. It is a joke, and that's 60%, guys. And then the last question of the day, Chiefs Kingdom. How do we feel playing the Bucks?
How do we feel? That's
How do we feel playing the Bucks?
That's a poll question?
Terrific, all right, or scared?
Honestly, guys, I feel the exact same way as when we were talking about this in the preseason. I feel the exact same way. I said, throw anybody at me. I really didn't want to play the Saints in the Super Bowl, but the other team I didn't want to play was the Bucs. But that when you're playing the best against the best, that's what brings out the best of the Chiefs. And so I think this is a good thing. I mean, you're going to fire up Patrick Mahomes against the GOAT. I mean, that's honestly, when I think about it now, it's the best case scenario. Tampa Bay's got a great defense, but at the same time, I feel great about this game. And honestly, it could go really well. I mean, I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people. I mean, I've had people tell me on the street that this could be a blowout potential game, which I stated that in the when we played the Bills last week. I said this had blowout potential, and it was, because I don't want to give them credit for that cheap 9-0 start that they had, but that was a blowout game against the Bills. I think this has blowout potential, but let's not get too carried away. But final answer, I feel great about this game.
Mike, how do you feel?
Mark me down for terrific, because here's the thing, Tanner. This just came out, breaking news on Twitter from NFL Update. It is Tyreek Hill is being diagnosed with being the best receiver in the NFL.
Get out of here.
And so after he just put up 269 receiving yards against the Bucs just a few weeks ago, back on November 29th, I'm not worried whatsoever about the Buccaneers, especially their pass defense. The Mahomes and Tyreek Hill connection dominated.
But wait a second on that, because Scotty Miller just said that he could beat Tyreek Hill in a foot race. So are you
Scotty
confident
Miller
in that?
ran a 4.39 was his 40 time at the combine. I am afraid the Cheetah is going to be a little quicker than that.
Yeah, the Cheetah's slightly quicker on that, and so is Mecole Hardman, by the way,
Hardman
just
is
in
also
case you didn't
quicker
know
than
that.
Mecole Hardman ran like a 4.2, I think.
Whatever it was
So-
faster than Scotty Miller.
Yeah.
We looked it up, so
We're
don't
not
worry
concerned
about
about Scotty Miller or anything like that. I mean, yeah, he's going to get open at times. That's fine. So will Evans. So will Antonio Brown. So will Chris Godwin. Not concerned. But I do feel great, because I think this is going to be a matchup, a legacy matchup between
Correct.
Brady and Mahomes. And it's going to come down to who could prevail in the fourth quarter. And I trust our guy completely. I trust Mahomes.
So 75% of Chiefs Kingdom says they feel terrific, and I feel terrific with you guys. 25% say all right. Nobody's scared.
By the way,
We're not scared.
Chiefs are the away team for the Super Bowl, wearing the red jerseys.
Wearing the red jerseys, baby.
So when you guys want to order your jerseys online, you get the red ones this year with the patch on it. Super Bowl LV.
So guys, let's jump into the Chiefs Bucks preview here, or maybe a little bit of preview, right? We're not going to talk deep down into it, but we're going to talk about it. We want to mention some stuff. What is there anything right now going into the bye week, the Pro Bowl week, that you guys are seeing or want to talk about?
Going into the bye week here, as we all know about Andy Reid coming off bye weeks and his success, I think that's something you should look at as something that is very important, and we all know how great he is coming off of a bye week. I think he's only lost like 3 or 4 games all time off of a bye, or off of at least a 14-day time span or something like that. So, anyways, overall, I mean, the fact is, get healthy, because we have guys like Sammy Watkins, who we want to have back on the field. Willie Gay, we're not sure about him quite yet. And then we'll have Clyde Edwards-Helaire 100%, because I don't think he was 100% this past weekend on 6 carries for 7 yards. That doesn't seem like him at all. But having an extra 2 weeks to get him prepared off that high ankle sprain is going to be huge. And then there was one other guy in the mix here, Tanner, that I was thinking about that I can't even remember his name right now, but he was another guy that was kind of been injured missed a few games. That should be back. He also missed his previous game along with Watkins. So, as we know, Eric Fisher is going to be out with a torn Achilles, but more than anything, is just getting the core of the team 100% healthy, ready to go in 10 days from now.
Yeah, be able to fly, be able to hit people, be able to do what the Chiefs do. Jason, what do you got?
Yeah, just 2 quick keys to the game for each team. For the Chiefs side, just get some pressure on Tom Brady. Rough him up a little bit. That means Chris Jones and Frank Clark, just all you got to do is show up to the game. Do your job. That's what I want to see. Frank Clark had a good game last game against the Bills. And then my second key to the game, we got to figure out a way to protect Patrick Mahomes from that great pass rush of Tampa Bay. So they've got Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul over there and Ndamukong Suh. Just figure out a way to protect Patrick Mahomes. And then on the Bucs side, keys to the game. They got to rely on their running game. So you don't want to get into shootout with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. That spells disaster. I understand that Tampa Bay was number 2 on the season in passing yards per game at 289 yards per game. But Kansas City was number 1 at 303. They've got to shorten the game up a little bit, I think, and just don't put it on Tom Brady's shoulders here. You got to shorten the game, rely on your running game, because obviously they've got a much better running game than the Buffalo Bills had, and so that's if you're on the Bucs side, like I said, just don't try to get into a shootout here.
Just don't get cute. Like, play your game, Bucs. Play your game. Run the damn ball.
And the guy I was thinking about was Le'Veon Bell, by the way.
You were thinking about Le'Veon.
Been out.
I didn't even
he
think
missed the previous game, and so we'll have to watch on that. But here's the thing: we're facing the best rush defense in the NFL, going on 2 years in a row now.
That's right.
So
That's right.
It's going to be a game where we're going to have lots of passing, as we did previous week on November 29th, throwing the ball with Mahomes, as we do best. So that'll be the plan.
That'll be the plan. Man, it's crazy with this Bucs game coming up. Like, Bruce Arians already came out and said, we're not making the same mistakes we made last time. We're not playing man on Tyreek Hill for the first quarter. Obviously, you probably don't do that anyways. So there's that. Like, Bruce is aware of what's going on. This guy is also a Super Bowl winning coach, so it's not going to be as easy as everybody says. But I like our chances against the Bucs way more. Speaking of, you said shootout, Jason. That kind of intrigued me, because that has not worked too hot for Brady when he has to have a shootout with Mahomes. Yeah, I don't know if you remember those past games.
No, I mean, I was watching Brady in his last game that he played. I mean, he was chucking arm punts. I mean, literally arm punts.
They can't afford that.
You're not going to be able to do that in this game, and I think he knows that. But honestly, just rely on the running game, because, I mean, Brady, I do like the way he's throwing the ball. I mean, at age 43, I mean, he can throw the ball downfield. We all know that, but he needs to, just look at himself in the mirror and say, okay, I don't need to do that. There's nothing to prove here. Just run the offense. Don't try to chuck it downfield, every single play, and just take what the defense gives you.
Well, I think something to keep in mind real quick is Spagnuolo versus Tom Brady going into this game, and we all know the history of that and how Tom Brady cannot stand playing against Steve Spagnuolo's defenses. So I think that'll be another rough situation.
Factor.
So would you say that this is a revenge game against Steve Spagnuolo for Tom Brady?
Of course, it should be a revenge game for Tom Brady. Historically, it should be a revenge game. Spagnuolo's beat him twice in Super Bowls, and recently as a Chiefs coordinator as well. So, and it's happened so many different times at this point to where Brady should be pissed off. And so,
see, now you have me scared since you said it's a revenge game. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Well, it is.
You just scared the shit out of me.
It is a lifetime revenge game, because Spagnuolo is the one coordinator who's always had Tom Brady's number and destroyed him consistently throughout his career.
So we got Deekson here in the chat here. He says KC doesn't do comebacks well.
Doesn't do what?
Comebacks.
KC doesn't do comebacks well?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know, Deke. You have to elaborate, man.
Doesn't do comebacks well. I mean,
KC always does comebacks.
Are we talking about the Royals of last year? Or
are we talking
about like the Sporting KC?
Are we talking about the
Royals?
Were you talking about the NHL hockey team that never existed? That they said they promised us we were going to get?
Maybe that's the team that's bad at
NBA
comebacks.
team?
Oh, yeah, the NBA team from the 1980s. Man.
Yeah, man.
I wish I would have been old enough for that. That would have
How
been
cool
great.
is that?
Kings?
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I wonder if they were bad at comebacks. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
We need to look that up.
All right,
One of these
guys.
teams isn't very good at comebacks.
So, speaking of old time, all those old times, how about legacies, guys? Legacies. There's a lot that happened this last weekend and coming up in a couple weeks with the Super Bowl. Let's talk. Tom Brady. Does this? We already kind of chatted on it a little bit, but is there anything more he can do for his legacy to be better, go up the chain? I mean, he's already the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, he can win this game. I mean, if he wins this game, that obviously adds to his legacy. It's like Mike said earlier, he's playing with house money right now, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously, he's going to do everything he can to win the game, but even if he loses the game, he just won an NFC championship where, he had no preseason during COVID.
New team.
Brand new team, brand new offense, and he won the NFC Championship. So this is a win. I mean, no matter what for Tom Brady. So, I mean, but if he could somehow pull this game out, I mean, this puts it, to me, it puts it out of range for Patrick Mahomes because, I mean, for Patrick Mahomes to try to catch that would be very, very, it's already going to be difficult. But we all know and we all believe here at the Sports Buffoons that we're not going to let that happen. And so Brady losing the Super Bowl this year, I think it adds to his legacy because he still has a winning record in the Super Bowl, Tanner. What do we think about winning records in the Super Bowl? Would that make him 6-4 if he lost?
That'd be 6-4 if he lost. So you're talking about not being the GOAT if he gets a losing record?
I'm not gonna say a certain person's name here because that's not my style.
No,
you guys can say it if you want.
No, but here's the thing: as far as Tom Brady's legacy goes, is that losing this game does not hurt him whatsoever, but winning this game only adds to the legend of who Tom Brady is. And it'll be something to where the guy went his first time ever on a new team after spending 20 years in New England, and to go take them to the Super Bowl and to potentially win that game just adds to the legacy and legend of who Tom Brady is. So when you tell your kids about Tom Brady, Tanner, when your daughter's 20 and Tom Brady's 60-something years old,
still playing in the NFL,
you're going to tell your daughter he's better than Peyton Manning. That's for damn sure. And we'll know that for a fact because Brady went to 10 Super Bowls in his career, which is almost half of his career.
10 freaking Super Bowls, dude.
And so the fact you can do that and carry a brand new team that beat Aaron Rodgers to get there too in his second best year of all time, come on. This is amazing, actually.
And the other thing I would point out is that being in 10 Super Bowls is far different than a lot of the other sports. When you look at the NHL and the NBA, they play 7-game series, and so the best team always wins. When you're in the NFL, you don't have a 7-game series. You've got to show up.
It's your best day
to a single game. And so getting to 10 Super Bowls to me that blows my mind.
Well,
I can't believe that we're witnessing that right now.
To go off of that, Jason, what you just said, I know we disagree on this, but I fully believe the Packers are the better team over the Buccaneers, actually. And I think if you give them a 10-game series, I think the Packers win 6 out of those 10 games. But as you said, Tom Brady showed up when it mattered because he knew that was the one and only game that mattered at that night, and because he knows how to win playoff games. Where Rodgers' lifetime does not. One Super Bowl for his entire career.
43 years old, guys. 43 years old. And he's still going to freaking Super Bowls. That's just big props to Brady. All right, guys, how about the other side? Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, this will build his legacy tremendously as it's still a young career. But the fact that he's been already in the playoff wins, I think he has the record of playoff wins right now, almost, outside of Brady. Like, what does this do? Yeah.
What do you mean?
I think it's Brady than Mahomes right now.
For
just playoff wins.
Well, Mahomes he's 6-1 right now.
Yeah.
For his career.
I think that's what the stat I saw.
Yeah,
Well,
6-1 is his playoff record.
That's his playoff record, but that's like all time is what you're talking about, Tanner?
Maybe I thought I saw
It's
something.
definitely Joe Montana and
I mean,
John
yeah.
Elway have done more than that.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was different. But what does this do for Mahomes? What does this do for Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, if he wins the game, he's undefeated. Okay? That I don't have anything else to say, guys. If he wins the game,
all
he's
about the-
undefeated. And you guys know me well enough to know that the only time I say undefeated is when I talk about the great MJ. That's right, Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals. So now we're talking about the Super Bowl. If Mahomes wins this game, he is undefeated. That's all I need to say about it.
I want to ask you this. So let's just pretend for a second about Mahomes. Let's say for his career, he only ends up with 4 Super Bowls, but he goes to 4 Super Bowls. So he's never gone to more than 4, but he ends up with 4 rings. He's 100% winning percentage in those games. Is he the best? He's better than Tom Brady?
That's tough for me to say because I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe he'll make it to more. I mean, that's just
I
me.
agree, yeah.
I believe he will find a way to make it to more than 4. But if you're sitting there at 4-0 and Joe Montana's 4-0, then yeah, I'd give Mahomes a slight edge just because of the talent. But yeah, I mean, he'd still be the second best of all time.
Yeah, just behind Tom Brady.
Just
is what you're
behind
saying?
Tom Brady, absolutely.
Okay. I was just taking into effect how much you care about Super Bowl or championship losses, and so that kind of gives me a little more insight about what you think about
He
those.
just
things.
has to have a winning record. That's all it is.
Oh, he will. I mean,
JG just cares about the winning.
Winning, we care about winning records in the Super Bowl. If you have a losing record in the Super
You're
Bowl, we
canned.
don't talk about your name on this
You're
show.
canned.
Well, maybe we will, but not very often.
Yeah, we'll whisper every once in a while, Dan Marino, but otherwise we're not going to sit here and have a whole Dan Marino discussion.
No. So, Mike, what are your thoughts? Anything with this legacy from Mahomes yet?
Yeah,
or is it still too early to still talk about anything like that?
No, it adds to it. It just adds to
Okay.
the development of what his legacy is going to become, and especially at 25 years old right now, and to go out and have a great season, go back to back, which is something that hasn't happened in I think 18 years now. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL. The NFL does not see back-to-back champions very often, and for him to do that at 25 years old would be pretty special. So let's keep that into account.
So here's what happens to his legacy, guys. He didn't play in his rookie year.
Nope.
And then he won the MVP
Yep.
the first year that he was a starter. And then he won the Super Bowl MVP. And if he wins this one, then that just means that in his first 3 years as a starter, that he won the league MVP, that he won back-to-back Super Bowls. That's what it does to his legacy. You can take it for face value. That means he's just an astonishing player, the likes of what we have never seen before.
Very fair.
Yeah, and keep in mind for Super Bowl MVP, the odds right now, if you're out there doing any kind of betting on who you think the MVP will be for the Super Bowl, Mahomes is favored at minus 120. And so that is the surefire bet to win MVP. Back-to-back MVPs of the Super Bowl would be freaking incredible. In fact, I don't even know if that's ever happened before. Did Elway do that, Tanner?
I thought it was Elway.
Did
I'm pretty sure Elway did
Elway
it.
do back-to-back
Super Bowl
MVPs? That would make sense about the last.
I'm pretty
person
sure
to
it
do
was. Yeah.
That would have been 97 and 98.
98. Yep.
So anyone out there, if you're following along with us, let us know in the comments while we're talking here if that is the case.
I don't know about that. I think Terrell Davis might have.
Did Terrell Davis
rattled
win?
off one of those? I don't know. I'm not that old. I'm pretty old, but I'm
Well,
not that old. To
They
remember that.
faced off with the Packers and then Falcons from 97 to 98,
Yeah.
I think it was. So that's, I think, the last time Elway might have won back-to-back.
And real quick here, Jason Hammett did find the stat I was looking for. I was trying to think of. Mahomes has 4 playoff wins where his team trailed by 9 points or more. No other QB in history has more than one.
That's the one you were talking about.
That was the one
Tanner.
I was thinking of. Thank you, Hammett. So, all right, guys. How about a guy that's, I don't know, like, what do we call it? Won Super Bowl, soon to be the league MVP. Aaron Rodgers, guys. What has this loss
Soon
done?
to be the league MVP, Tanner. You're going out on a limb now.
I'm just saying.
I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, and now I'm a
It's-
little worried
I'm just saying.
for him.
Like, what does it do? What did this loss do to the GOAT?
It did affect his legacy. I think it put him in a negative light. This being his second best year of his entire career, best one since 2011 when he set the all-time quarterback rating record, which I think this year he actually finished second only to himself. I think I'm correct about that, but it's kind of amazing. I think all-time when you look at his numbers, the guy's been phenomenal. But this year in particular, he was outstanding, and if he was ever going to win again, and the level he played at, I was scared about Aaron Rodgers. I thought the way he played this year just consistently, that he should have won MVP for the regular season at least.
Correct.
Now, I think when you take into account this loss to Tom Brady in the playoffs and the way he did not play well against the Buccaneers, and it's kind of been his history. His history is he gets to playoffs every single year, and he finds ways to kind of choke. He finds ways to just not win the game. He's not a winner in big games, and that's a fact. One Super Bowl for his entire career, never even been to more than one. Yes, they beat the Steelers back in 2011, but this is not a guy that is consistently winning. Like Jason said a little bit ago, Brett Favre had 3 MVPs and went to 2 Super Bowls. And so he actually did more in his career than Aaron Rodgers has.
Yeah, there's a long laundry list of players that have lost to Tom Brady. So
Yes.
that's the one thing that I can say in Rodgers' favor is that, yeah, he lost the game, but he lost to the GOAT. So, I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that, but when you're looking at legacies, I mean, to me, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, I don't really see any difference here. They both won a Super Bowl, and that's the object of the game, as we say on this show many times, is you got to win. They both had a Super Bowl. To me, that he's on the same level as Brett Favre. He's only 37, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. Maybe he can build on that if Tom Brady retires. Okay. Don't cross your fingers on that. But, we'll see what happens. We don't know what that really does with legacy, but right now him and Brett Favre are on the same playing field.
All right, very fair, very fair. How about two tight ends, guys? We have some two legendary tight ends right now playing in this game as well, which is amazing because you got two legendary quarterbacks, two legendary tight ends. Rob Gronkowski, guys, guy that came back, who was doing WWE wrestling, won a championship, had to give up his title to come back and play with Tom Brady. Obviously, this has to be a positive impact on his career.
So he never lost his title in WWE, did he?
No, he had to resign, basically give it back.
He went out as champion.
He
never got beat. He's all undisputed.
He's
forever.
still an undisputed champion.
He's the champion
because he was forced to give it back.
He never got pinned. That's great. That's big news right there in sports world, Jason. Whenever you don't lose your title in WWE.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say about Gronk, if he didn't lose his title in WWE, that means he's a superstar.
Absolutely.
Superstar?
I mean,
he's a superstar, not like just in the sense of the NFL, but like in the world.
I think Ric Flair was like a 16-time world champion. Woo! And he also got pinned in that case 16 times.
He got pinned.
Whereas Rob Gronkowski never got pinned. Never got pinned, guys. He's undisputed, better than Ric Flair.
NFL should just put him in the Hall of Fame just because of that. So what is this game like? What has this season done for Rob Gronkowski to get to this point with his old buddy Tom Brady?
I thought it was an interesting season for Gronk actually, because if you guys paid attention to the very beginning, it was like, oh, he's washed up. He's not making any plays. He's barely getting any playing time.
Looked rusty.
He didn't do anything the first few weeks. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, Gronk is healthy again. He's making plays. He actually looks fast. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but he actually looks fast to me. And he's making plays downfield now, and he's back to being Tom Brady's, favorite tight end targeted once again. Cameron Brate's played well too, but Gronk all time legacy wise, I actually think he is. Put them in the prime. I think he's better than Tony Gonzalez. And I don't come on here all the time to become a Gonzalez hater because I'm not. I just think that there's been players that have surpassed him recently, such as Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski, in their development as players. And you guys know how I feel about Travis. I think Travis is, I said it a little bit ago off air, but I think Travis Kelce is the best tight end of all time. And I know that's probably a lot. He's 31 years old. But no one's ever been more consistent than Travis Kelce, ever. No one's ever been a better route runner, ever. Never one's ever been more versatile. You kidding me? On these little plays out of the backfield even, when he's getting little tosses and pitches and, stuff like that, and little shovel passes. No other tight ends are doing that. No. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And the way he runs routes like a wide receiver is just incredible. And he's still actually a good blocker, too. And that's actually one thing that stood out to me when we drafted Travis Kelce back in 2013 was his blocking ability. I liked that over his pass catching ability. So the fact he's maintained that and shown that to be proven over the years is incredible to me. And the guy doesn't even look like he's like rocked. He's not like your Jared Cook where he's just jacked. Like he's not the guy that looks ultra muscular. He's just a big bodied kind of a beast. He's a football player, pure and simple football player.
So yeah, you kind of just combine both of them.
That's what my point was to do that because they are 1A, 1B right now in my
Travis.
mind.
So Jason, what do you got for Rob and Travis?
Yeah, I would agree. Honestly, I've got him at 1A and 1B.
By far.
And the thing about Gronk is that, you said that he didn't really show up earlier in the season, but honestly, neither did Tom Brady. Tom Brady was playing like crap earlier in the season. Now, granted, that was a new offense, but I think obviously Gronk, at this point in his career, he can only add to his legacy. And so I do have both of these guys as 1A and 1B. And granted, back in the day when Tony Gonzalez was playing, they didn't pass the ball.
Tony Gates.
It was all, you look at all these offenses, you just run the ball all day long. Yep. So it's a little bit of a difference, but, you're not going to hold that against Kelce and Gronk. I do have them as 1A and 1B. But Kelsey's still got to finish the job. I mean, he's got a long career ahead of him.
Yeah, so you guys kind of said exactly what I was thinking. I mean, I honestly don't think it really hurts Gronk's career or legacy either way, just like Brady, just because they've done so much together. But there is a lot still at stake for Kelce to grow his legacy, to be that number one guy that Mike always, downs Tony G on. So, guys, that was great. That was a great legacy talk, by the way. So, we got a bye week. No Pro Bowl. Nothing great's going on. What are you guys doing this weekend?
It's our okay. So we have football after this weekend, but we have one game left of
Yeah.
NFL.
But now you got to
so
wait 2 weeks to
we're-
see any football at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I will probably go out with my girl and hang out, but otherwise, it's like when the off season hits, I hate it because
Oh man,
I don't
that's
know
gonna
what to
be
do with
devastating.
myself. I don't know what to do with myself. Like, when weekends come and I'm like, okay, NCAA is over, NFL is over. What do I do with myself on
'Cause
weekends?
football's
Because
your
normally
life.
I wake up on Sundays and that's all I care about is football.
Yeah, well, the only thing you can do at this point is focus on the NBA. So,
Right.
should we break the news that we found out right now, Tanner?
Go ahead.
Got a.
Let's break the news,
This
baby.
is from Cavaliers Nation. There is a player by the name of Andre Drummond that plays for the
Big
Cavs. And at some point, it is reported by Cavs Nation that he will secure a buyout from the Cavaliers and join the Brooklyn Nets because the Cavaliers don't need him. They've already got Jarrett Allen that they acquired
Which
from
I
the
love
Nets.
That guy.
And so, I did this on an earlier podcast. I was trying to stack up roster versus roster when you look at the Nets versus the Lakers. So now, if you throw Andre Drummond, this hasn't happened yet, guys.
It's
This
down
this could
to-
take a few weeks to happen. It could happen in the middle of the season when you're not expecting it. But if you throw Andre Drummond onto this roster of the Nets, now this is how we're looking. You've got Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Andre Drummond. A lot of you guys haven't heard this name, Andre Drummond. He is a two-time All-Star in the
Monster,
NBA.
guys. He's a monster.
And he averages 14.6 points for his career, which is not that great. But guess what? He almost averages more rebounds per game than points. So you're looking at a 14. This isn't a double-double person. This is like a 14 and a 14 per game guy. And oh, by the way, 1.6 blocks per game for his career. So what is the thing that we were looking for? What is the one thing that you guys all out there would trash the Nets roster for? Oh, they can't play defense. They can't protect the rim. Well, guess what? If you get Andre Drummond, you can play defense, and now you can protect the rim. So how does that roster stack up against the Lakers? Well, you got LeBron, AD. As I said on a previous show, who's the third best player on the Lakers right now? Per stats, it's Montrezl Harrell. And Montrezl Harrell is an amazing player, but he's 6'7". Andre Drummond is 6'10". So I don't think we're going to have an issue if you're a Nets fan with dealing with Montrezl Harrell. So, Tanner, how do you think those two rosters stack up against each other after the Nets acquire Andre
Like
Drummond?
that starting lineup is like an NBA 2K lineup you would get in like in a video game, right? You have Jordan, then Andre Drummond down low, right? And then you got the three big guys: Harden, Irving, Durant. Like you might as well like who cares about your depth? You just play those guys, you'll be fine. Like have them sit for a minute. They're gonna win. They will win the championship with Andre Drummond coming on, and they don't have to lose pieces either, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
they
I
would just
said,
sign as a free agent, pretty much.
yeah, I mean, the only thing that you would worry about is their depth. But if we see these two teams stack up in the finals, I mean, before this news came out, I thought, oh, okay, it's pretty even. But if this thing actually happens and they get Andre Drummond, I mean, there is absolutely no weakness on these teams. I mean, you just take the top three, okay? LeBron versus KD. That's basically even. You guys all out there, you can hit us up on Twitter. That's an even matchup. Okay. Anthony Davis versus James Harden. Two very different players, but mostly even when you're talking about impact on the game. Then you go to the third guy, Montrezl Harrell, Kyrie Irving. I'm sorry, that's not even a discussion. I'm not even going to talk about that. That's Kyrie Irving. And then who's the fourth guy? Not on the Lakers. I mean, who do you think it is, Tanner? Who that's going to compare?
Schroeder?
Who would compare? Yeah,
Schroeder?
you're basically Schroeder versus Andre Drummond. So, I mean, this season could be over, guys. If this deal happens, and if there is a buyout on this contract of Andre Drummond, the season is over. I mean, if everybody stays healthy, knock on wood, the season's over. And unfortunately, as we all know, we got a lot of LeBron James fans on this show. Unfortunately, I don't think LeBron's going to be able to defend that title that he won last year.
That's a fair point. Andre Drummond could be big news, guys, and we were one of the first ones to talk about it. So, by the way, guys, this weekend, I'm working.
The Lakers
it's all right.
just lost a game. Who did they lose to just now, actually?
It's regular season, dude.
They should have been playing the Sixers and
Yeah.
Joel
Oh, yeah,
Embiid,
it was
I believe.
Sixers.
So the Lakers lost to the Sixers.
So they lost.
Yeah, that's not a big surprise. I mean,
No.
Joel Embiid, he's playing at an MVP level
Dude,
this
he's
year.
on
He might,
fire
if he
this
stays healthy, I think he will win the MVP.
Doc Rivers got those guys going over there. I'm loving that. So, cool. Guys, always follow us. Download, like, subscribe. Guys, we are out there on all major podcast platforms. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Give us a yell at Sports Buffoons. I don't know. Mike, you got anything else?
I'm just, looking forward to the rest of the week, I suppose, and hanging out, trying to have some fun, I suppose, and enjoying the 2 weeks we have total between the AFC Championship and then the Super Bowl, and watching some things as news trickles out throughout the week and interviews come out throughout the week from players and staff going into next week. So obviously we're going to have media day and things like that for the Super Bowl coming up to this. And just, the excitement next week especially. And I will have, of course, more in-depth discussion about the Chiefs and Buccaneers, and we'll really dig in deep next week on next Wednesday on our show about that game. So looking forward to that, and that's my main thing.
Yeah, guys, you got to hit us up this weekend. We've got a lot more content coming out this weekend on Sports Buffoons.
Yes, guys. It's going to be great, guys. It's great. We're growing. We're doing things. All right, guys. Well, you want to send us out?
JG, out.
Mike?
I will see you out on the next one.
See you guys.